months since I got to see anybody. The weather's a little nicer. Thanks to Drew. Drew took care of the weather. That was good. As always, we work off of an agenda, and based on whatever requests we may have or continuing information that we're going to continue to roll forward, we will put together the agenda. I think everybody has signed in, except Michelle. Pass that over to Michelle.
About that?
Please. And we have a pretty full agenda. So our first order of business is the minutes from last month, the 27th meeting. And I actually had a question about those. Who provided the Carroll County Department of Planning update? Was that you? That was still Abigail, okay. I think that probably should be in the minutes, Dana. That was Abigail.
I think I read them.
Yes, you read that.
Yeah, you emailed them to me. Yes.
Oh, you read
And
them?
I read them, yes.
Oh, okay. So by Drew for Abigail. Okay.
What I did with them.
Righty. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, clarification? All right. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin got a motion. Get a second?
Second, right here.
Thank you, Dave Grayson. Dave seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Okay. Thank you. All right. So Price shows up with all kinds of paper. So would you like to start with whatever comes first?
I'll do just the town update real quick. As you can tell, I'm Abigail. She took a position in Baltimore County, so she started that. So I am the interim until the new person comes. The new person's name is Randolph. He actually has interned with our department. This is his second year. He took off a semester. He took a semester off and went to their, I don't want to say it's Budapest, but I think their campus. Where their other campus is for school. He was there for a semester, and then he came back, and he's now came back and started interning for us again. And when Abigail took a new position, we decided, the department decided, and that he was doing a great job, so offered him to start with us upon graduation. So his graduation is in May, taking a week off, and he'll be here from June first, or that first Thursday is in May. That's how the county works. Wednesday is the end of the pay period, Thursday the beginning, so that's how we look at it. As he becomes late, he has a class at 6:50 and cannot get out of it, so he was not able to come. If he is able to come at the next meeting, then I'll bring him and get him to introduce, but also just sort of see how it goes. So it's Randolph Mitchell is his name. So with that, obviously the big things we have on the update, I'll do sort of in reverse order. Of course, economic development land use study is ongoing, and we had our first public hearing, first public workshop on February the 16th. The next public workshop is coming up on April 27th at 5 p.m. And this will be at Exploration Commons. And although, even though the economic studies for the county master plan, all input is welcome. Those in town are a part of the county, so any input is welcome. And I will try to relay to Drew to see if we can get some information to the town that will actually be able to go flyers and things that you can put in town hall for anybody that comes by, and then put the word on the website that you have another workshop coming up.
Get you closer to the microphone because he's not able to get you. Sorry about
27th at 5 p.m. at Exploration Commons in Westminster.
Say that again, where?
Exploration Commons is at the library.
It's at the library.
Yeah, the new,
The new addition they did to the library in the
Okay.
basement. Then the last thing, big thing, is the Carroll County Hazard Mitigation Plan. We are hopefully gonna get that to all for final aspect of things to FEMA. There's been some back and forth with the county or the county and FEMA. And I believe all the questions have hopefully been answered, and we're looking to get that sent off to FEMA for the final certification. Since obviously, in order for any kind of monies that towns or anybody would need for issues when major hazards come through, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, big snowstorms.
Truck accidents, chemical spill.
I think, yeah, depending on what it is, yes, those kind of things. So there's certain things that you need to have that plan in place in order to ask for funding. Sort of the same, along the same lines as the water and sewer master plan, which if you have projects in the plan, then you're able to ask for funding if it's available, that kind of thing. So that segue, the last big thing is the water and sewer master plan, and since I am here for the town's certification of the two chapters, the water chapter and the sewer chapter, as well as the water service area map and the sewer service area maps. I work fairly closely with Gary Dye and with Wayne in Public Works, and I believe we have, so pretty much the information was all provided by them when it comes to the chapters themselves. And I inputted the information, sent it back to them to review to make sure everything was good or accurate. They sent their final comments back. And then the map-wise, we did the same thing. We updated the maps. But of course, obviously, the big changes you may see in there, Snyder Summit is now fully shown as complete. And we show lines in Snyder Summit for both the water and sewer. What we did is we just put the lines down the middle of the road. And I did some research, and definitely when it comes to, I believe, the sewer line, I realized there's a line going on the backside. So there's some certain things we added in there. So we definitely made sure we updated the lines as needed for anything that's brand new or areas that we had questions on that for whatever reason previous maps did not show lines or stations, or in our research we found, okay, there actually appear to be lines here or pump stations or whatever here. So those are all updated, and both Wayne and Gary have looked those over, and everything appears to be in good shape. The one last big thing I have, which is the table 15, which is the water demand table, and table 32, which is the sewer demand table. What I do with those is the existing data, or what we call present year data, is the starting point, which I've received that from the towns. And then I use our county's buildable land inventory to calculate what the potential priority and future data will be. So that's not included in this. The tables may be in the chapter itself, but the actual new data is not included because it's based on calculations that I do. And the present year number is provided by, I use that pretty much as what the flows are for water, or flows are for sewer, and pumpage for the water. So you'll see that, because a lot of the times, especially with sewer, it's understandable that inflow and infiltration, or I&I, is a big issue. So we use the flow data, which typically is higher than what is actually billed. Because if you have leaks in the pipes, then groundwater gets in, and you're treating groundwater as well as with sewage. And then, of course, it's also on the flip side, when it comes to the water, we use what is pumped typically versus what is billed. Because the build, you can look at the data and sometimes you realize, okay, you pumped 1 million gallons, but you only billed for 500,000. So you realize there's leaks potentially. So that breakdown, but in the end, it gives probably the worst case scenario look at things, because a lot of towns do realize, okay, we do have I&I issues, and I know New Windsor is working on that, and they've been working on that. Everybody is working on trying to do the best they can in recouping capacity when it comes to sewer, and of course, fixing leaks in old pipes and that kind of thing, especially if they're the old terracotta pipes. Then over time, they begin leaking, and once you replace those, you'll start seeing numbers going down, hopefully, and in the end, everything will, as we hear the state say, come out of the wash.
So you'll provide those too, once you do your calculations, you'll provide those to the.
Yeah, they'll be.
Gary, Wayne, and.
Yeah, and they'll be a part of the overall last plan, so they'll be in the overall plan, but I'll let them look at it and make sure they don't think it's anything out of the norm. But again, I'll use the data, the flow data for sewer, and then the pump data for wells.
Okay.
So those are the two numbers I'll be utilizing versus, so the numbers that are already provided to us or to me by the town. And then I'll, just as a, I'll let them know what the tables look like and then go from there. Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions. It's just because I don't see these enough. I'm not expecting you to have the memo you got. Okay, the water and sewer, the water service area.
Okay.
Okay. There's a chart on the second page, or I guess page 64.
Yes.
I recognize the 196,000 daily average use. But you get, next to it says an average day demand of 282,000. I don't quite understand what that means.
What that is the state allows for a maximum potential. So so you're allowed to potentially go up to 282,000 on average at a short period of time. So the 196, in essence, that's your permit. You can pump that all day long. But the 282 is if there is a, let's say, drought season or whatever, or something happens, something goes offline all of a sudden, like we had that huge water main break, and you need to, for whatever reason, all of a sudden all your towers are now been utilized because then you have the
Allow
ability
that for a couple days.
for a little bit to,
Okay.
yeah, so that's sort of what that is an average for this one. There's only roughly 2 permits, so they just average it out over like what the maximum is for both permits, and they average it out for a amount of time. There's no, I don't think, at least in my knowledge, for what we do, a specified time. I'm sure both Gary and Wayne know what that timetable is of how long they can go towards that maximum daily allowance.
On that same page, down at the bottom, it mentions about Bruce Meadow Spring, requiring the town to ban this use until its influence is addressed by providing a treatment plan. It's under needs analysis.
And that is all that came straight from both Wayne and Gary. So in essence, the town has the ability to potentially use it, but since there is surface water infiltration going into the spring at this time, it appears it's not available. So you're permitted for it, but you don't have the
Would that
ability.
be a separate treatment plan for that, or?
We'd have to do some kind of mitigation.
Yeah.
Okay, some kind of.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, and that, more than likely, that answer is probably going to be, as you scroll on down, it's on page 66, under the table 10E. All those.
It would require 24-hour treatment.
So that's sort of where things come into play. So a lot of the times, the stuff above, like you just asked, you know, if a well is offline or there's contamination, you know, there's, of course, unfortunately, the big thing now is PFAS. Then if something's offline because of that, then you may still be permitted for it, but it is out of service. And if it's something that the town is working to fix down the road, that's where that last table 10E comes into play of the priority projects. And what that is about, all those projects in there, even though, you know, some of them may be considered priority, some say future, if they're listed and through MDE or any other way, there's money that could be looked at, then that's a good thing. If they're not listed, then I usually get a call from the state that says, okay, the town has put a permit in for XYZ, but we've looked at the master plan and XYZ is not in there as a project. So they like to have everything look nice. A lot of times, usually on the sewer side, and it's usually, sometimes this is the long-term recommendations, and pretty much it says here, they're usually like a catch-all. It's either like a, you know, maintenance as needed, ongoing, whatever, or, so the state looks at that and they realize, okay, maintenance is always gonna be needed. There's not gonna be one specific thing, but if you put in somebody asks for a permit for something or for a project to be done, and it's, you know, okay, we're trying to work on this well, and it wasn't part of this, but I say that was part of maintenance. They're like, okay, they're fine. So it's sort of
Seems to be these long-term recommendations, you know, to have it in our plan.
Probably.
the long term, yeah.
Price. That water audit, yearly water audit, is that something the town does or the county?
That's something the town does.
Okay.
But that information actually can be very beneficial just for me and my knowledge to keep in check and see, you know, in essence, based on what I show in table 15, which is the water table, that, okay, let's say in 22, we used 100,000 gallons was total use. In 23, you did some maintenance and fixed some leaks in the pipes, and now the daily use was only 90,000.
Okay.
That helps me also look at, okay, over time, as the next plan comes up, we can recalculate. And that's what happens is roughly every 3 years is the start over point. So we're hoping, especially now with all the new low-flow toilets and all the aspect of things, but also when it comes to the maintenance of pipes or water leakage or sewer lines infiltration, we're hoping over time as things get fixed, the overall use number will go down, which will equate to not more capacity, but recouped capacity. So again, like going back to sewer, you're not treating rainwater, you're actually treating sewage. So if you have, you know, 100,000 gallons of infiltration, and you're able to take 50,000 gallons and get that out of there, now you have recouped 50,000 gallons that could potentially be used towards projects that may have not been able to happen, because when you look at it, you're like, well, now we're at capacity, or we're at 80% capacity, where that 50,000 now brought you down to 65% capacity. So that's sort of where those come into play. The water sewer is kind of it's a weird science, because obviously I receive the data from the towns. We have it in this, and this is a sort of a roadmap to the projects that go through. So even if a project's within the city, the town limits, I look at it through our review process of, okay, is this in the water and sewer master plan, first of all? Is it in the service area? If it is, then that means we should have it, or we actually have it in our tables, so we have that estimated demand calculated for. So even though it's complete, let's say Snyder Summit, that was, at one point in time, was shown as priority in the plan. The number of units that were built, we estimated at 250 gallons a unit. Now, once we get some usage data, more than likely that 250 will go way down, because the state mandates 250 per unit for residential. And just through the different times we've done some calculations and analysis, it usually comes out to be less than that. So that is where you look at the present year, and all of a sudden you realize that you're hoping that number keeps on going down. So the outer years it accumulates, so overall your numbers will be less. But that's what it is. But if we have, let's say a project comes in and it's on the map shown as long range, which is what we consider a planning tool, the state does not mandate or require that we calculate potential demand for that. So that is demand that the town was not planning for. So if somebody's in long range and they want to come in, that's a lot of times where I come out and say, okay, you have this project that wants to come in, but yet it's going to add so much that the town was not planning for. The good thing, what you may need to do is either find somebody who's looking to come out because they don't need it. They're, for whatever reason, they don't want to be on water and sewer. But that's usually when it's harder, is if something's in long range and all of a sudden they want to come in now, because the town is not accounting for that, not planning for it in the document. So that's where things can get kind of dicey sometimes, but not all the time.
On the sewer, what does ENR mean? Stand for?
Thank you.
It's enhanced, yeah.
Nutrient reduction. I was going to say enriched. No, it's not enriched in nutrients. It's the enhanced nutrient reduction, which is the new state, well, it's not new, it's been around for I don't know how long, but it's the new standard that the state has in place to hopefully mitigate some of the nitrogen, that stuff going into the grounds to help the bay is a big thing.
Throughout, you explained
And that may be
all the
one.
initials, and that one was not.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I've heard that said it,
We are,
but I had no idea what you're saying.
we are looking into
Yeah.
that
Yep.
to update our current treatment plan to ENR.
Is that something I should include somewhere within the master plan?
Well, I think that maybe under, our analysis of needs area that we
I
would.
thought we had talked about that, but I may have been hallucinating, which is entirely possible. I thought we had.
This is the minor, but under the water service plan talks about 840 acres, and it says 945 acres under the sewer. So they treat larger area?
I'll verify what they sent. And sometimes it is possible that there could potentially be areas that may actually get sewer, that have a well. But I'll verify that, make sure that number is totally accurate.
So I know you corrected or changed the EDUs on the water, and it's also different on the sewer. So
Yeah, and it's one of those, and I'll verify that, but I believe when I did that, again, yeah, for sometimes, a lot of times, it's not a one-for-one. So not everybody's gonna be on whoever's on water, it may not be on sewer.
on your recommendations, does it matter to us who the stakeholders are? When you says under the water chapter, sewer chapter, you've got 3 different stakeholders and none of them have comments.
Yeah,
We don't need to know anything about.
that's sort of the biggest thing is, like the stakeholders were the town, and then me looking at myself as well as the state, when they're looking at it. So that's where the stakeholders come in. The biggest thing is, getting information straight from the town itself, so the person can be trying to do it that way. So yeah, we're working with them. So the stakeholder aspect is mainly Gary and Wayne, who were the town.
haven't, I think he's been on vacation this week or.
Okay. So what you're looking for us is, I think we have to vote on this, Michelle, that we,
That it's consistent, because this is the consistency.
Yeah,
of it.
it's the
I think it's prudent to go ahead and vote on it, have it on the record.
that each of these, do we need to do it separate, or can we do it as a combination?
You know, I like things tidy. I would do them separately.
And I feel like, well, I hear you and I trust you. I feel like I want to check with
There's a
Gary.
but in there somewhere.
Yeah, Gary and Wayne, did they have had a chance to have input on this before we would go and approve it? Or certify that this was
Right, I understand.
consistent with our,
We have enough time, right? This
You do.
isn't, yeah.
I mean, I think, if it's one of those you want to, well, no.
could we do a vote contingent on?
That's what it is.
Yes,
talking
yes,
with
I
them?
think you could.
Okay,
So long as it was clear that the commission authorized someone
Right.
to confirm with staff.
I would recommend that. Better than lawyers say it than me.
I was thinking of texting, but I don't.
Costs more if the lawyer says it. That's how it works.
That's right. I got my questions answered. I was hogging before.
So you need a motion on that then?
Well, I don't know if there's any other questions or discussion items. You look like you have one. Cal.
No, I'm okay, no,
You're okay.
I'm okay.
All right. Then, I would suggest entertaining a motion that we accept the sewer chapter, or the water, let's say the water chapter is consistent with the county's, with our comprehensive, with our plan. Yes. Contingent on, it's okay, I'll check with Gary to make sure that staff had an opportunity to have input. So one motion would be for the water chapter, and the other would be for the sewer chapter. We do the water chapter first. If somebody can make a motion that this is consistent with our comprehensive plan, and contingent on, and us accepting this and voting on this contingent on town staff having had an opportunity to provide their input. Can I get a motion for the water chapter?
I motion for the water chapter.
Second?
Second the water chapter.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No pressure there. 6-0. And could I get a motion for the sewer chapter of this update? It's consistent with our comprehensive plan. Again, contingent on my verifying that the staff did have the town staff had input.
Motion the sewer chapter.
Okay, motion from Ryan.
Second it.
Drew seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, 6-0. All right, and I'll work with Dana to get that put together, and I'll check with Gary, Wayne, and probably by the end of the week, we'll have that due. So
Okay.
I'll get signed and scan and send it to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's consistent. Wakefield Solar Facility Plan Review. This, frankly, I looked at current emails and then started going back, and I didn't notice this until 5:30 tonight, so.
I think that you all reviewed this some time ago, and I am certainly not a plan reviewer, but the differences seem fairly minimal to me, but it would still have to come back to you.
I think it was in 2020.
It was a while back.
I looked at what they had given us, and it looks like the setback had gone from 50 foot to 100.
Yeah.
It's changing around with the footprint.
Yes, and it's fixed panels instead of one that, like across the road that goes with the sun.
I go with the sun.
Yeah.
And then the access turnaround, which changed,
Yeah, well,
but it seems like
It's not expanded in any significant way
no,
or
in fact, the
anything like that.
footprint
It's smaller.
yeah, I forget the square footage. No, that's not, tied up in that moratorium that,
No idea. I don't even know where that ultimately landed.
I don't know if this was, I can't remember if this was considered a
Might have been grandfathered out.
community solar facility. I don't believe in all the, I don't remember seeing that on the list that was sent out to us of the community solars. I mean, if you want me to, I can look into that and verify and get back to the town, but I don't, it doesn't sound familiar that it was a community solar one on the remaining portion, because I think actually that's zoned industrial.
Well, even if it is caught up in it, that doesn't really affect whether you can approve it or not, because your approval would not override the moratorium at the county level if it were to be in effect on this project.
you know, like I said, that might be part of that industrial
Yeah.
parcel that's.
Yeah, if it's part of the
Across-
industrial
yeah.
parcel.
That's the one right out there on 31, across from
Another one.
the Gullows
Yes.
property, right? Yeah,
So
by the Babylon Vault.
So, yeah, if that is a part of, well, if it's on industrial land.
Yeah, that's,
Then, no, anything that's on industrial land in that portion, which is considered a solar generation facility versus community solar, the solar generation facilities are not affected by that.
okay.
You wanna look at these? There's several sets here, so,
The solar,
yeah.
the updated ones?
Yeah,
Okay. I was gonna bring the old ones, but I figure,
They're old.
yeah, that was a moot.
If you summarize the changes, and that seems to, because I wasn't part of the previous review, I'm happy to look at it, but if all, I wouldn't know what to compare it to, and it sounds like it's gotten better for us. I mean, with a bigger setback and,
I think larger setback, the radius changed from 15 to 27 feet for the access drive. I don't really think that's really a big issue. And the changing, what I said, change from tractor to fixed tilt, I mean, it's not changing the footprint, it's just changing the mechanics of how it operates. So I agree with what they're saying. It seems like it's pretty straightforward, what they're asking, and I'd like to entertain someone to put together a motion to accept what they're calling revision 8 changes as they're presented, as they are presented to us.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes as presented.
Motion by Kevin, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, 6-0. So I'll get with Dana also, and we'll put together something to document this and let them know.
Now, will we get any benefit to the town from the solar, or is it just gonna be paid for? We can't control that and say we approve it based on sharing 25% with us?
Power.
We want power from you. I just was wondering if,
No, it's not even actually in the new.
It's
Windsor.
not, it's really only in your
They're
environment.
really
should we throw that into our master plan?
Funny that you say that. I attended something a couple years ago, and it might have been down in MML, but it also might have been something that you and I went to. That's what it was. It was a thing that we did online. There is a group that deals with small municipalities, and if they have land for the solar panels, of course, the electricity could be for the town, but also could be a money-making venture.
Yeah.
And but it has to be a relatively small community in this company. It's like less than 5,000 inhabitants, which we would fit into. And this was a couple of years ago, and I know I said, that there is somebody out there that does work with.
That comes up and sets up electrical plants so that the town can have, actually,
They talk to you about putting it on your roof and.
I have it on my roof, so I know.
It'll pay for itself in only 30 years.
Well, I didn't do that. I didn't buy mine, but I locked in my rate, which was 3 cents below what I was paying, and it hasn't changed. So, I mean, I think I saved money. So, because I let them put the, now, of course, when I have any work done, I have to pay to have them removed and put that.
Yeah. Good and bad in all things.
Yes, all things. But I just was wondering if, since it's using asking the town for approval, is there a way for us to?
No, I think it's just like a grocery store asks the town for approval, but you don't get your green beans for free.
Oh, man.
Alrighty. I also see something on the agenda. Town code verbiage to allow microbreweries.
Yeah, that was.
I was gonna say, how interesting that is. I saw that on the agenda too. So I'll be looking forward to whoever it is that put it there.
That's me.
Okay.
I put it there, so, I think not last week, but the week before, I was at the MML, meeting for our area, and, there was some discussion about things that were going on, as we typically do in each of the municipalities. We go through a list, and there was, several of, the towns that brought up things about microbreweries, and, they had events and things like that. And, of course, New Windsor doesn't have a microbrewery. It may be the only ones now in the county.
I think you are.
No, I guess, because Pub Dog isn't considered New
Nope.
Windsor.
It's
Close.
technically in the county.
Okay.
So, I was sitting next to Mayor Rube, and, we had a little discussion about that. And we know that our current code does not have anything in there that would allow us to even have a microbrewery if someone came into town and said, hey, I want to put one in Dillman, or I want to.
Micro distilleries, nothing. There's nothing in your code that would allow any of that.
We thought it was probably that we should just get ahead of it in our plan. However, we're way behind because everybody else has it already, and we're not even on the books to allow it. So I wanted to kick off that discussion, and I know we're going to have to point at Michelle as our lawyer.
As the local drinker.
No, as the lawyer, to help us move forward. I don't even know what the first step is.
There's a wide variety of licenses by the state and county, etc. So my thought would be, when I saw that on the agenda, that if you are inclined to authorize a use like that, you want to think about where you want to put it, and do you want to limit it to microbreweries, or do you want to broaden it to things like nano breweries, which, believe it or not, is a separate license for a smaller output, and micro distilleries. For example, I don't know if anybody's been to Covalent on Main Street in Westminster, but I believe they are a micro distillery. They don't make beer, they make hard liquor.
Yeah, there's one in Frederick too.
Yeah, and it's a coming thing. And if so, where do you want to put it? Do you want to have it? You may want to. Everybody immediately in New Windsor, when anybody thinks of anything, goes, we could put that at the Dealman. But not everything is feasible for the Dealman. Many of the breweries, in fact, almost all of the original licenses, this has changed over the years, but when this thing first started to take off, were actually in industrial zones, both here and in the county, and I can speak from personal experience in almost everywhere else. It's surprising. I grew up, yeah, I like to say that. I was young when Falcon Crest was on. Is anybody here old enough to remember? You guys are old enough to remember Falcon Crest. So I was out in California a few years ago, and we were by San Diego, and we're going to go to a winery. So I'm picturing Falcon. I'm hoping Lorenzo Lamas is going to come out and pour wine for me. And it is in the middle of an industrial zone. All of these things, you know, you're next to a sheetrock manufacturer. So, and they're doing a good business. So you have industrial land that is open and has, dare I say it, parking. So you might want to think about if you want to do something like that. Now, if anybody who's been to flood zone in the last 6, 8, 10 months, or maybe 2 years, that man is doing a land office business out there. You're parking a quarter of a mile away and walking with people I sat next to last time I was out there were from Pasadena, not California, but still. They came from to Union Bridge. So, I mean, if they'll go to Union Bridge, they got to come here.
But there are parking balls right there.
Yeah. So you can, you know, like pour some concrete and have a beer. It all works. Point being that I think the decisions that would be made about this are not what they would have been 10 years ago, because these places are. The side is in a shopping center in Hampstead, and by all accounts is doing a nice business. Pub Dogs in the middle of nowhere
And they're
is doing a nice business.
pretty busy all the time. I shake
Pretty
my
busy
head.
all the time.
Their beer's not that good.
Who said that?
I did. It's not that good.
Tut, tut, tut.
It's just, I mean, mixing beers is just.
We think they're wrong.
I think they're wrong, let's move on.
Yeah.
But we're being recorded here. So all beer made in Carroll County almost is good.
Oh, my mistake.
So you can point to the lawyer, but the lawyer is only as good as the information the lawyer is given. So if you want to consider manufacturing of any or a multitude of kinds of alcohol and where you're going to put it, you guys need to think about that, because I can only do what you tell me to do.
Okay, so sounds like some right off the bat decisions that we would need to consider are microbreweries, nano breweries, nano distilleries.
Yeah.
Micro
Or even, I mean, you could, well, that's the thing. Broader or narrower is up to you. I've actually seen some jurisdictions that lump together, and it sounds weird, but they work together, apparently, coffee roasting facilities and breweries, because they have they have the same water usage and some other things, which I never knew until I said, how interesting that they make coffee here, and somebody told me. So, I mean, you're not going to get Guinness out here, which is probably a good thing, besides which they are already busy down there.
And they're in Baltimore.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
So my thought process on this is that we should be a little more broad, so that we would have the ability to allow both the manufacturing of spirits and beer in our area.
Or coffee.
Well, I don't think we need it for coffee.
You don't need a state license for coffee.
Right.
But if you're going to do something like this and you're going to put it in your code, that's when you address it before somebody comes along and says, well, what about coffee?
Well,
And then
here's
you
a
gotta
question.
mix it
So
up.
we have farmland around our town. What happens if farmland converts to a vineyard? Is that, because we have vineyards in Carroll County.
We have lots of vineyards
Quite
in
a
Carroll
lot.
County, but not in your town,
I understand that.
okay?
I understand that, but we have farms around our town that aren't in our town.
So is your question, could someone open, say, a tasting room?
Or could somebody say, hey, we'd like to be, would they, I guess since they're not part of our town, they wouldn't need to annex, they'd have to go through the county.
Well,
They'd
if
have-
they wanted to annex, that's all kinds of other issues. I don't know if there's anybody currently, I don't believe, with my limited knowledge, that there's any vineyards currently in your growth area.
I don't think there are
I don't
either.
think there are.
I just, when I'm hearing
But-
breweries, I think of all, because
Yeah,
that's another big business.
but
only
you know,
a
you
couple
can
miles away.
put the use of winery, tasting room, whatever, in your code with out necessarily knowing that there's someone
Right.
who wants to open one. The Vineyards is a much more complex process,
Wine tasting then.
but I'm in favor of them. Anyway, we interrupted you, David.
So, I'm just saying, I think I would like to make it broad enough to encompass those things, beer, distilleries, and also in locations that are advantageous for the town. So I think the village center area, right? And then I don't want it necessarily in our residential areas, nobody, would want that, but I think we would want to allow it in our light industrial areas.
Maybe your employment campus.
Neighborhood businesses and general commercial district. I
The
mean, I'm just looking at
non-existent general commercial district, finally a use.
What would be the water consumption? How would that change? If you have a brewery or a distillery, how is that going to affect your water plan?
They use water.
They use a lot of it.
They use a lot of water.
So, I mean, if you're saying Snyder's is allocated for 250, hopefully coming down, you would assume something like that would offset that if it does come down, but that's a lot of water.
Yeah, and that, I mean, the way we look at the water when it comes to lands that are, say, zoned commercial and industrial. So if land is commercially zoned and 10 acres, easy math for me, 700 gallons an acre is what we look at. And I say usable acres, so let's say it's 10 usable acres, because what they look at is obviously if there's streams or there's forests, that kind of stuff, more than likely that's gonna be in a conservation easement, that kind of, so it's not usable, so. If it's a 10-acre plot, 700 gallons an acre, you have 7,000 gallons is what that is estimated for. Now, of course, it is true, you have breweries, distilleries, especially breweries, they use a lot of water. But it's one of those where, in essence, in other areas of the town, is something using less. Okay, do you have a commercial area that is 10 acres, that is nothing but, it has a, 2-acre self-storage on it, and the rest of it, they don't plan on using it at all. Self-storage doesn't use any water, maybe 250 gallons a year, so that 7,000 gallons, not that you move it, but it would offset potentially that aspect. So that is a good thought you need to, look at is, okay, how much water does the town have allocated for, by the state? So, just looking at how much is already, in essence, being used. So, everything that's in the pipeline, that's in priority. I don't think the town has anything in future. I think everything's in priority. So, everything that's in priority, what does that account? So how much is that? So if the town has, 185,000 gallons to use, and right now, 100,000 gallons are being used.
Saying in here 90-something.
Yeah, so, and the state also looks at it at 80%. So if the town's able to use 100,000, if their capacity is 100,000, 80,000 is where the state looks at it before they come out and say, okay, you're getting to the point, you're actually 80% capacity, you may need to look at a capacity management plan to see where the town needs to go to potentially bring more capacity in if you get to that point. So it's a chess game is what it is, because you don't know how much somebody's going to use.
But I think somewhat in answer to your question, if we can rely on the numbers that are in here, we're at about half of our capacity. So if it's, again, using those numbers of about 7,000, we seem like we would be okay.
Yeah.
If that, again, based on their size, so it's not like we are at 75% of capacity, and we would be, so it would sound like it'd be okay. And I love the idea of broadening it to not just.
But Ryan, you're absolutely some other huge water resource, drain kind of business would come in, there would have to be a water plan, and we would have to look at the capacities that we have, and, you know, and there could even be a situation where they're limited to the amount of water that they could draw from our system, and things like that, but.
Now, that's true for any development. And we are now very much in the mindset of there's no more developments except maybe 3 lots on Lambert Street eventually at some point when we're all dead. But any development that has to come in would have to go through that review. And a brewery uses a lot of water. A distillery does not use nearly as much water as a brewery uses. I have no idea how much a winery uses. I just don't have any personal experience with those. But that question would have to be brought up. And I do know, if we're talking about this from a planning as opposed to a zoning perspective, that there's ongoing conversations about finding other water sources for the town so that, A, we have more water, which is always a good thing, and maybe even also so we are not dependent on a 120-year-old 4-mile pipe that goes, I don't know, to
Well, there's new
Eldersburg.
parts to it, though. There are new parts to it.
There are new parts.
10 foot at a time.
So there's a lot of things that would go into that calculus. But
Including parking.
for that, yeah, from the zoning perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
Though, you know, I mean,
People come, whether there's
people
parking or
come.
not.
I was just fixing to say, I have been to Covalent on Main Street in Westminster, and anybody knows what Main Street in Westminster is not a hotbed of parking. They have some parking. I've been in there when it's full of people, so they gotta either walk or they gotta park somewhere, and they get there. So, the parking thing is always an issue when you're talking about down here. Less of an issue if you're talking about your industrial zones.
Other thoughts?
So would something like that require a different formula for parking, or be like any commercial or?
You
some
know,
is- yeah,
it
site
all
parking
depends
spots
on
per
how
square.
you write it when you put it in the zoning text. But for our purposes today, since to the best of my knowledge, there isn't anyone knocking at the door saying, here, I have $2 million to redo the Dealman Inn as a microbrewery. If there is, no one's told me. So long as it isn't my husband, I'm okay with that. I think there's 2 aspects to this. If you're going to talk about doing something like this from your perspective as the commission, do you want to put in the plan something about broadening your uses in the downtown and industrial zones and, you know, studying the necessary resources that might need to be made available, you know, all that kind of planning stuff. Part of my question, primarily for you, Councilman, is what do your fellow Solons on the council think about this? Because if they're not interested in this kind of concept and you put it in your draft plan, they might take it out because they have the right to do that, or at least to suggest that you take it out. So that might be something that, and you may have had these conversations privately. I don't recall any, you know, in the group as to whether there's consensus or even at least majority vote consensus on putting this in your plan.
So we have not had open conversations amongst the.
I mean, I know it's come up. It's been coming up since somebody first laid eyes on that building next door.
What I'm willing to do is I'm willing to bring it up at a town council meeting and get a head nod. I've done those kind of things
I mean, it's
before.
very preliminary.
I would still like us to start working on towards the verbiage. I will get a head nod. I believe I will get a positive head nod that the town council would be in favor. I would not want us to do a lot of work and then they take it out. I would not want to do that. So I will bring it
That's
up.
my point.
I will look for the head nod and,
Yeah, I anticipate you'll definitely get the nod.
and then
Yeah, at that point.
So we'd add it to part of like land use and growth management, or would we make it as a recommendation later in the?
No, your plan isn't that specific for individual uses. Though I know I should, and I'm sorry I don't recall if there's been discussion in the specifics that we've been talking about as we've gone through the plan of looking for other water sources. You could even put something extraordinarily generic in if you're looking for other water sources, which would also allow the town to broaden the variety of uses that would be supportive, you know what I'm talking about. And you could do it that way. I don't think you need to put in, and we are interested in having microbrews in your plan. But if they're not interested in it, you might as well know now. That's all I mean. And I understand there is a new brewery in Ocean City. The guy who ran Backshore. Remember, did you ever go down to Backshore on the boardwalk?
Yes.
It was nice. They've opened another one called The Other One. That's the name of his new brewery, closed Backshore. So that is a reason to go to Ocean City, so you can study this.
Planning Commission field trip.
It's a junket.
Get the town to authorize it.
No, this is a very frugal town. You know that.
Not gonna get this.
All I want is a round or two at the bar to sample.
We couldn't do field trips for common mounds. And we're gonna have it for,
This be subject to the local license commissioners?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to go through the county license.
What I thought.
Depending on what they do, almost everything has to have some sort of state license. Some things have to have only a state license. But
Right.
everything, I believe everything has to have a county license. And there's weird things like, I know you eschewed Pub Dog, and that is your right.
No. I just say it's not great beer. I didn't say it wasn't good beer.
They have to have a separate license, I believe, for cider
Oh, yeah.
and beer. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
It's also convoluted. It's very complex. Dave Johansen can't sell his own beer to O'Lorden's across the street, which he also owns. He has to sell it to a distributor
Yes.
Right.
and then buy it back.
Oh, that's been the biggest complaint for all microbreweries in the state forever.
It's just liquor laws, and it's not just Maryland.
Well,
My
it's-
family lives in Texas. Don't even get me
The
started.
people that give out the liquor licenses and the people that have the liquor licenses don't really want a whole lot
I
of
don't want a whole
competition.
lot of other people. Don't you dare sell that.
There's a
grocery
pyramid,
store.
Bill.
Of course, I lived in New Orleans, where you can buy vodka at 3 o'clock in the morning at the 7-Eleven. So, I am either spoiled or ruined, depending on your perspective.
so it sounds like
Good idea.
you brought this to the commission.
Be careful what you wish for.
Take this to the town council.
I will take it to the town council to make sure that they're in agreement as we move forward.
All right, well, thanks.
I like that.
Maybe that will have a little bit more success moving forward than the Airbnbs that we talked about a couple of years ago.
We passed that.
I know, but,
Took us.
Airbnbs have been rushing in.
Oh, I don't know. I don't need to stay here because I have a car. I just drive home, so I don't know.
But when we have inclement weather, or you could come here for the water.
I can take the waters. I can go and sit in the spring.
All right. So, you stopped at page 98 is what I see was the last note.
Correct.
And page 98 has that nice chart on the landfill usage. The discussion about having that updated by, and how that was gonna get updated.
We
Think I was getting removed.
We didn't need it.
need
Not gonna have it,
Yeah.
okay?
That was Xed
that
out.
in our,
All right.
really we're at the analysis of community needs.
Ah,
The
so
bottom of
really the
98.
bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, that changed because the town no longer lacks a community park.
Full parks.
What is the community park? What is considered what is the definition of a community park?
I was thinking Fountain Park is a community park.
Which of our 3 parks is your community park?
Yeah, I mean,
I believe that they're all community parks.
Yeah,
I would too.
so why do we?
Why did it say that we lacked one? Because at least 2 of those parks were here when we did this last time. I know, who knows?
I always took the Lions Park as more or less the main,
Yeah, I think
that
so.
went back to the early sixties.
And it has new trash cans now. Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I can delete this paragraph. Except for, do we want a linear park?
Well, I thought that we wanted to talk a little bit about
But that,
that, the old lagoon area, that whole area there that we are talking about long-term, turning it into some kind of park with possibly fields of ball of some
yeah.
type.
I think that may have been. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the thought of naming something Old Lagoon Park.
I'm sure that someone came up with a better name.
Something better than that.
So we kind of want to phrase it instead of like a park as recreational facilities? Instead of, or is that all the?
Well, I mean, we have, I don't know that those couple of sentences can be tweaked. Because we have community parks. What we don't have is a larger facility. Or you could even say that the town has several small community parks and is hopeful of creating a larger, more multi-purpose facility at the old lagoon location at some point in the future if the state will give us money.
That's perfect.
That really sounds good.
Emily?
No, I can never say
She
anything more
started
than once.
typing right away. I watched her. She knew it was coming.
Where is the 10,000-seat arena going to be placed?
Right next to the women's prison.
But there was some talk about something, but it's a couple years ago.
There was, I remember.
Are you kidding me?
I think I blocked it from my consciousness.
Yes.
There's-
Oh, the-
I think they're going to put it on top of the quarry when they fill it in.
A rumor ran rampant throughout the town of Hampstead.
Really?
They were going to
That
make a
tent, that
women's
where?
prison out of it. That the state was going to buy it and make a women's prison. And people all over Hampstead were screaming and tearing their hair because it was going. They were going to film Orange is the New Black up there in Hampstead. So
Petitions probably started coming out of the walls.
I realized that if you don't work a lot in
Wow.
Hampstead, you
The
never heard of
traffic,
that.
I
But
can't
if you ever
imagine
want to
how
push
bad.
Tammy Ledley's button,
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath.
I don't want a 10,000-seat arena. Will that go next to the Olympic swimming pool?
No, but that we.
there might be a slip and slide though.
Not with our water.
I'd rather have a brewery.
The town actually has some plans drawn up from the University of Maryland for use of that. Yeah, for that property over
Yeah.
there.
They're very nice, but they don't include a 10,000-seat arena.
No.
But they were. I mean, there's some really interesting ideas for that parcel that came from that project.
Splash pad for kids.
Yeah, all kinds of cool stuff.
We had a college class that did a project on developing that whole area.
Nothing that can't be accomplished without a whole lot of money, yeah. So there we go.
The old lagoon park, yes. Now, the idea of a linear park was connecting from Union Bridge all the way around up, I guess really the tie-in with Westminster. That's always been the plan. Do we want to address that in here? Is that still something that's still out
Like
there?
via a bike path type deal? Or
Well, was it in, I guess it was in here, was talking about the cost of, I guess it's a little further back, about those, whether
County had
further
always been part of their plan.
Yeah.
They love those things.
And of course, they're not connected up at the Snyder Summit and the Reserve, those two aren't even connected, so.
Right.
That was another issue that came up, but
Because Reserve's a private road. So connecting the private road and the public road was not something that the private road was tremendously interested in, which I can understand, you know, you get that. It's very complex to put those things together.
so is that, I think the county still has a desire, still talks about this green space that's gonna connect all the way through.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a, the county, bike ped master plan, which was never truly, it was never formally adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, but the Planning Commission did, I don't know if they adopted it, but it's a plan we still reference, especially when it comes to the Freedom area. It actually is in our Freedom area comp plan. But we do have that, and it sort of goes in line with the overall transportation master plan that the county is working on. So once the master plan is getting to the final stages, we will actually incorporate the bike ped plan and make it a all-encompassing transportation plan. So yes, that is one of the things that, interconnectivity of all towns, if at all possible, greenways, bikeways, that kind of thing, certain areas. I mean, because right now, the southern part of the county in Sykesville, they're part of the Patapsco Greenway, which goes from Sykesville to, I can't remember, I'm not a part of it, but it's, I think to Baltimore City. It's a humongous green, so it's utilizing multiple different areas, things that are already in place, but then finding interconnectivity and making things work, so it's a multi-county pedestrian.
I believe Abigail added that to our map, one of the maps, did she not? One of the new updated maps has.
I thought it was on one.
Like,
It is very possible, so yeah.
you know, I don't have them in front of me, the updated maps, but I thought there was a dotted line thing that
Yeah.
showed the path coming into New Windsor, where the peak is.
Emily, did you capture the essence of Michelle's rant?
I did,
Not a rant. It was
I did.
far short of a scream.
Her elegance. Eloquence.
I don't know, I just talk, and then somebody says, say that again, and I'm like, nah, I can't.
No, the town has several small community parks and is hopeful of creating a larger multi-use facility at the Old Lagoon area.
She's an artist.
Yeah, I just wrote down what you said. I just happened to type very, very fast.
Yeah, and, if you wanted, I think it would certainly be appropriate to say this, that the future development of a linear park is still certainly whatever, an option, a goal,
Something along other uses in the recreational space
Yeah.
would be encouraged, other uses in the recreational space.
I mean, map 7 just says a New Windsor bike trail and then a Union Bridge bike
yeah,
trail.
I think
but it
the
just
theory is
follows
to,
7 to 5.
yeah, to potentially connect those two so that people can ride their bikes to Flood Zone. There you go.
Okay, I have brackets in that, which means to nuance it and make it prettier when I get home, but basically.
Could I ask a question before we go on to the next one, just briefly to catch up? Public library and the senior center, do we have anything of substance to do in those two?
Let me scroll back,
Because
because
obviously,
we made a lot of changes.
Thought we X'd it.
Yeah. Well, we Xed the senior center
also, you can use that facility to get books. So it's a mini library, you can, that's where you get something online, you can go over here and order something and pick it up. Kinda like a permanent bookmobile.
You can pick up.
I did not know that.
And drop off, yes.
Yes, but you can't.
You know, we
You
just
can't
thought-
browse.
You can't browse, you can't linger.
Oh,
Yeah, we just thought it wasn't necessary, put in how many volumes
Oh,
and
yeah.
square
Oh,
footage.
exactly.
Okay,
So
let
what
me,
she had, yeah.
semicolon, drop-off and pickup services are also available.
There you go.
didn't know that.
But both of those, this part of the county is underserved. There's not anything in this part of the county for Union Bridge and.
And all the way down to Mount Airy. There's a lot of space between here and there.
Exactly. So, I was curious if any of that.
We're all illiterate on the side.
Obviously, the library is having the
Okay,
basement finally done, and we was talking about this 15 years ago, so
Yeah.
but that's not, that's mildly helping us, but it's a broader.
and
Of course,
then,
there's so little that the town of Westminster, or town of, hello, where am I? The town of New Windsor can actually do about that unless you open your own library, which is, infeasible. You could, it's perfect. Brewery, banjo shop, and library. And bibliophiles welcome. I like it.
that there was extensive debate as to whether or not the library headquarters also have public meeting space. And so we changed that to may, rather than having anything decisive.
Used to.
A reference to public schools was struck out too, correct?
Yes.
Under public safety, so we mentioned we can share a full-time town sheriff.
We have that.
About mentioning prison.
We,
And then we,
So we struggled with this section throughout the document, this analysis of community
Yeah.
needs. Because it's not supposed to be talking about what we already have, because we talked about that already. This is supposed to be
Yeah.
stuff that we believe that we need.
And an awful lot of it is what Carroll County has already. And so we spent a fair amount of time on those issues.
yeah, the sheriff, we talked about basically just that we share with, Union Bridge, and then we pretty much took everything out related to after the Maryland State Police, except for the first paragraph. We didn't have anything about the jail or any of that.
Oh, okay, that was early.
Yeah.
Oh. I hate to go back to it, but I feel like the public library and the senior center are two things are community needs. We don't have any, health center around. Mount Airy's got, the big something down there. You've got a little bit of something up in, Westminster. But there's not any medical pavilion in this part of the county. There's not the library, we're, talk about that new Finksburg branch, that's nice, but that was 15 years ago. We had, I think Tawnytown.
As a library.
Yeah, they have
There's a library
a
up there.
library that was redone. But this part of the county doesn't, and senior center in general, to just go to one central location for the whole county. I feel like, especially as I get closer to wanting that senior center and visiting there, and, but the fact that there's not anything in this part of the county, I don't know where you draw the line, but it seems like this is a community need. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. You're up at the reserve, so you're,
Well, I don't hear any talk about that,
Really?
really.
Okay.
No,
okay.
no.
Well, see, they're active, so they, I figure senior centers, when they get to the point where they need the bus to get there, and
That's
that's
true.
what I kinda
That's true.
picture as a senior.
That's true.
Well, it's really interesting.
They're used, they are incredibly well used
Yeah.
in this county. And not just with people who need to get on the short bus to get there.
How about the cat?
Yeah, but, I mean, they do all kinds of things. I had I know of somebody who was very upset because there was not even enough persons available to help him do his taxes because they were so popular. They do a lot, and they have a lot of use. All of the senior centers. So maybe, even a smaller one for this region to serve you and Union Bridge. And the more rural sections of western Carroll County. You don't have to get on a bus to get there.
And that's why the buses are so used, because it's all centralized in
yeah.
Westminster. But we are a little more, and frankly, if I were the southern part of the county, where you got more of a population base with Sykesville, Mount Airy.
No, I mean, you put in that a smaller annex kind of use. If you want one, you're the planners. You get to make the plan.
Right.
I mean, no one may pay any attention to you, but you get to say what you want.
And I frankly feel both of those can kind of almost go hand in hand. Absolutely, a brand spanking brand new library wouldn't make sense. But to have something that was, say, a combination, something more than what we have here, where you can look online, find a book, and then eventually it'll show up, and then you go pick it up, that's nice. But something a little bit more than that in the library / senior center, something that I would, well, I mean,
Community center.
community
Community
center.
center.
Exactly. And we somewhat had that up here, 15 years ago? You could go up here to the Brethren Center, and there used to be volleyball, and there used to be occasionally some activities that were going on. But a community center, yeah, I think that might be a better way to put it.
I've done exercise classes at it was the Brethren Center. They had exercise classes.
That's a thing of the past, yeah. And I feel like this is maybe our area where we put some of that out there.
Would it, so I'm looking at the outline of the current analysis of community needs. Would it fall under Parks and Recreation, or would it be its own thing? Because if you're talking about perhaps having like exercise classes as well.
Yeah. I'm willing to grab in anything right now, because.
Or you could write something and just not call it Parks and Recreation. You could
Yeah,
call
why
it,
not call it a community
yeah.
center?
Call it community center and
community
have
center,
it
yeah.
set up to serve seniors, kids.
yeah, little ones.
I mean, make it a multi-purpose center so it can
They have a community.
take care of the community,
Yes.
old and young.
Up there, with where the tennis courts and ball fields. It's got a little kitchen, it's got a commercial kitchen, and
Where?
Universe Community Center.
Oh, yeah.
That's where
But
we had
can any-
that's where we
but-
had our wedding reception.
That's been there for a
Yeah,
while.
that's been there from,
Oh, no, they,
60s.
well,
Yeah.
and that's not affiliated with the fire company.
no, that's.
Okay,
the
that's
town.
just the
That's the
town.
town, yeah.
You go to the town office to get your rental.
Yeah,
fill
we
out
did
your
some
rental
birthday
agreement.
parties there early on when we first moved to,
Yeah, okay.
That's been there a long
Yeah.
while.
Okay, I'm capturing all of the ideas here.
Once again, the deal would be perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect. All it needs is $2 million.
buy
Or
that
3.
lottery ticket.
Okay,
And
so
parking.
library
What used to be
annex,
3.5
recreation
million.
classes, senior center facility.
It's come down.
medical. Do we wanna do like, go completely crazy and talk about potential public health options?
Yeah.
Don't look at me, I'm not a planner.
That'd fall under a different,
Well, maybe I have no idea about how you would get licenses or how any of that would work. And maybe
How does Access Carroll work? Are they based exclusively out of one place? Or does anybody know, do they kind of travel? I know they have medical professionals who go and assist their clientele, but I don't know exactly where.
They're at the Barrel House.
Yeah, they're somewhere downtown, the distillery, the old distillery building. Everything seems to come back to it. But I don't know if they have, not annexes, but you know what I mean, off premises. Once a month they go to this place, that place, the other place. I don't know.
Food truck for health.
Yeah, like a food truck for dentistry. I don't know, I just wondered if anybody knew. But if you're talking about community needs and you're the planners and you think that these are community needs, it should go in your plan. More so than how many volumes the library books there are downtown.
I actually think what Emily Ann said really touches more on a community center.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that can be a lot of different things. Public library, you can have a library component drawing from whatever, the senior center, after-school activities for kids.
Does anybody here know what happens in the new Charles Carroll Community Center, where they tore down Charles Carroll School and built a community center out there? I know they spent a lot of money and the pictures are pretty, but I have no idea what goes on out there. Does anybody?
Where is this?
It's out
That's
where Charles Carroll School used to be, on 97,
97.
going up.
I didn't know anything else went in there. I haven't driven by in a long time.
Yeah, no, it's a big facility, but I've never been in it.
I thought they sold it to somebody, I thought a private company.
I don't think so.
Oh, wow.
I don't think so. We can find out, but I don't think so.
I have Googled.
Talking about North
I
Googled.
think they have like,
All I can find is, about a year ago, construction began.
Yeah, no, I think they've cut ribbons out there, haven't they?
Baseball court, volleyball
Yeah.
court, or probably pickleball now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you, there's a pickleball court behind my office, and that place is hopping every day it doesn't rain.
The pop pressure, pump the ball out.
Well, I don't hear it, I just see it.
30,000 square feet, full-size gymnasium, full-size gymnasium, 2 multi-purpose rooms, technology room that will have Wi-Fi access.
And that's in the middle of nowhere on 97. That's
Oh, yes.
Silver Run, for crying out loud. We should get more than Silver Run.
It is, and you probably have an idea by now.
It just occurred to me, you know.
Like that sort of.
Would be interesting to know.
We got something here with no.
They had the land.
Something's not right.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Because if they wind up winning back the middle school, maybe they'll have the land here.
But anyway, I mean, they got it, so they have it. so.
winning back?
Put it on where the lagoon, that part's.
I don't think I heard that yet.
That's just my naturally surly attitude.
Oh.
I don't know which news, I haven't been here long.
They leased it, they didn't sell it,
But they
right?
haven't sold it. They were
I didn't-
supposed to have sold it by now. That's my understanding.
It's a beautiful spot for our 10,000 seat stadium.
And I did lie, I think it was supposed to be 8,000.
That's okay, it's
Oh.
just as big.
From all over the state.
We have to build parking for it, but that's fine.
You know, a 5 or 7 story
It's all right.
garage.
It'll be bigger than the arena, but it's okay.
How large was this
I
one?
think we're completely out of control here.
Yeah.
What for category would that wouldn't be under Parks and Recreation?
I would create community center.
Yeah,
I created
create a
section
new,
called
create a new one, yeah.
Just as it says the town
Community
currently
enrichment.
lacks the community park, I think.
Yeah, the town currently lacks a community center. And you do,
Therefore,
especially since they took your school away.
Yeah.
A school brings people to
Yes, it
things.
did.
Since they took the school away and find a prettier way to say that.
Right.
Also,
a lot to be said for that. And when we moved here, we were happy about the school being so.
Yeah, you pay attention to those
Yeah,
things.
that's,
I spent an awful lot of time in schools with my kids.
that's actually where we kind of started, I think, last work.
You didn't strike the detention center information?
I did up above, but I have it down here where the
Oh.
community needs. Although I don't think, in my opinion as a non-voting member, I don't think the town necessarily lacks a detention center. If we are
I don't think-
talking strictly about what's within the town limits.
Put like a little thing in the corner.
Like an Andy Griffith.
I was just gonna say, when Otis comes.
That's right, there it is.
We aren't advocating for a new detention center.
No.
We're feeling the need for one. So,
Yeah, it's just so much of this, I don't quite understand why it's there.
Okay, so I am striking police services. Although I will ask before I do that, do we think half a sheriff is enough?
Without
I've
looking,
been up path before, you're absolutely right, no.
Okay.
I like the old days when we had a full-time sheriff that was committed to this town.
Well, for your master plan
Get
purposes,
fewer people then, too.
do you want to acknowledge that you have assistance from the sheriff's office and that the towns would still perhaps benefit in the future from having one dedicated as opposed to sharing? Both towns might benefit from having their own, so you don't want to be able
well,
to
I would say
offend anybody.
contractually, we currently share
Yeah,
police services with Union Bridge. But as our town is growing, because it is, there may
And
need
so is
to
Union
be a
Bridge.
need, there may need to be a change to bring in a full-time officer.
yeah, something like that.
To take care of New Windsor based on crime statistics or,
I would even say to go back to having a full-time, because we had
Oh,
full-time for
Yeah,
then that would go back to having a full-time.
Had
We-
5, 7 years.
And we paid for that
in a
in
car
town,
Yeah,
and it was 6 figures.
Oh, he was-
Resulting from it.
yeah,
Oh.
he was well retired by then, but
You know, if we were to
that was
do
before,
that
that was before
again,
even my time here.
a lot more than that, yeah. Well, my thought process would be based on crime statistics, if it's needed, we would
No,
need
we
to
had
bring
the
somebody in,
state
but I don't know what, I think you'd have to
resident
put,
trooper program.
you needed to base it on an analysis of whether the crime would require a full-time officer.
Price.
It's not necessarily crime, it's more
County adequate
but-
facilities.
But yes,
Do they have a formula for law enforcement?
Yes,
deter people from.
That would be something,
by which I think we need like 3 cops, and that's just not happening.
We just don't have that same
Although
connection.
I will say
Sure.
the Sprint has definitely improved crossing by that 7-Eleven. I'm getting so much faster.
Yeah, I mean, I can verify with, our development review, who oversees all of that. Cause, we have to give a report every year to see what kind of analysis is looked into. Let's see.
Okay, so something about the financial needs, both to address crimes as they happen and to potentially prevent crimes such as speeding and all.
from a current.
Traffic control
Yeah.
or something, because
Deterrence.
crimes, 'cause
Is the town allowed to invest in its own speed camera?
I would think that.
I'm just
would be-
asking
we
the
had
question.
I don't think.
when we had our own police,
That's
we
a-
had our own speed camera.
See, the problem is, we don't have our own police.
So because we share police, we couldn't,
Well,
Buy a
it's
camera
not
that
that we
they-
share them, it's that we don't own even our half.
okay. I
So,
understand what you're saying.
I
I'm
think
just gonna say, if
the-
we're
I
looking
think
to.
that system would be, if we had a police force, she
Well,
said.
but do the police actually ever, most of those cameras are contracted out and reviewed by somebody else.
Yeah, but that's, I think that's
Oh,
all state,
oh.
if you're talking cameras,
I thought you were talking about radar.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, exactly, I'm talking about like a, speed camera, just like a,
Radar gun. So.
Yeah.
put a speed camera in the areas, I mean, I'm sure it's an investment, but could we contract to
I don't
generate
think we
income?
can. I think that I think that's a state regulated process. I could look into that. We've talked about that before. And it comes up and it goes away.
I thought it was county by county, because I know in Montgomery County, they initially put them all around schools, that's how they. if they
Montgomery
were-
County, I swear half of their revenue comes from
Yes.
And in
cameras.
DC, they put them in the tunnels, so they catch you count, and they zap you, but.
And way up there is the
I-
speed
you know.
limit sign.
Yes,
You can't see
well, the
it.
and then the lights are kind of off to the side, yeah, never mind,
But
but
we've talked about
but
this in the
if
in the
we're
council
looking
meetings,
for
and
a way to control
I think
speeding,
if there was an easy, good way to fix it, we would have fixed it by now.
I mean, I would think control speeding and stop signs both can be camera monitored. And if you're looking for, you can, safety and income,
I don't know.
I don't know. I'd love them at all the stop signs in the neighborhoods, I think the town would make a fortune.
The town would not be, you don't make as much money as you think, because the company that
Yeah.
does this gets more than half of it.
Yeah,
And
but
then
you're
you
still-
split between jurisdictions, so you know, it's,
So maybe, yeah.
yeah.
I'm
but-
just thinking it's all gravy because we're not getting anything as of right now, so any increase would be a bonus.
But you gotta then pay for
There's a
whoever's
cost
gonna
for
do
the
the
equipment.
monitoring.
They're not
and
cheap.
Follow up.
Yeah.
That much I do know.
Yeah.
I just honestly, I can't answer that question, sir, I'm sorry.
And I'm not in favor of tickets, trust me, I'm not, but,
Well, you know, what happens, and it's happened, everybody has seen this. Everybody sits in their house and says, those people from away are the speeders. Until they're on their way home and they don't realize they're going 42 and 35 and they get stopped. Then suddenly those overzealous policemen or that darn camera light. Most people in any jurisdiction, I know this is true from, I've seen this all over the place. Most of the people that get caught speeding are people who live there.
And I will say the county does have cameras on the school buses, because I know somebody, hand to God, not me, that got one for passing the school bus.
Oh, well, they deserve whatever happens to
Oh,
them.
they should be
They do.
shot.
Yes,
Yes,
but
they do.
I'm just saying it is technically feasible because they have them on the school buses.
But it may be technically feasible, but like so many things, that doesn't mean that it is legally productive. Because a lot of these things you have to get legislative authority to do. It's amazing how many things you cannot do without going to Annapolis. Even though we are a sovereign jurisdiction, we're only sort of sovereign.
And I really think the goal, is the town council has been trying to address speeding through the town, is we're not trying to give out tickets.
We just want
We
people
are
to slow
trying
down.
to find ways to
slow
slow the traffic down.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. Not to slap everyone with tickets that comes through New Windsor. And it works in places. I'm sure most of you have driven through Littlestown, and you go down and all of a sudden everybody slows down to 25
Coming down the
miles
hill.
going
Yep.
through Littlestown. And I don't see police there typically, and there's no cameras there, but everybody seems to know you don't speed through there. And I think that would be great if we could make New Windsor
Like
that
that.
kind of place, and we haven't been able to figure out exactly how to make that happen yet, but.
Put up those stop signs, you put the one-way only with it's Lambert or Maple,
Yeah.
whichever one of those streets that you
And we
put
do
all those
have our
signs up.
speed
I think
things up.
the speed sign wakes people up.
Well, every car, as I walked up here tonight, every car that came up the road
Was going
triggered the
fast.
light. Everyone.
I swear I think some people think it's a contest to see how high they can make it.
And yes, I know two people that do that. They turn the corner because they want to hit 50 by the time they get to your house. And they told me that.
Oh, my God.
That's because it's up there. You can measure it. Oh, let me see. Certain Cadillac, I won't mention. Yeah.
Pink?
No.
Just asking.
Bruce is driving.
Okay. Not sure where we got with
Fire
that.
and safety.
We're for it.
Fire
Is it-
EMS.
Is it not really the new
I
firehouse?
think we
Right, it's
eliminated,
not the new.
because it's 17 years
It's,
old.
yeah, it's not the
Yes.
new firehouse.
And I think it should say that it's not the town of New Windsor's property, it's New Windsor Fire and Hose Company.
Yes,
#1.
true, number one.
And there's no mention of the EMT in there, which is really a big deal for us. Because that has happened since this last plan.
Yes,
But that is a real nice benefit for our community, to have 24/7 EMT available.
so we all gonna look at you, Drew, for the technicals on what has to go in there.
So,
I think 2016, I think right now we're on the financial 2016 or 2026, like a paid driver and
really?
Oh, yeah, all
and
kinds of
additional
changes coming.
more 24, guaranteed county employees. Right now, currently, they're New Windsor employees, fire company, then they'll become county employees and,
So what could we put in
Yeah,
here
how do we put that in
to
there?
help reinforce that?
you could just say the county is transitioning to a combination career and volunteer.
Yeah.
The county's in the process of transitioning to a career/volunteer organization.
Fire companies?
Yes.
System.
Should that go above, is that part of the needs, or is that more part of what the current status is?
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Well,
You could say, with the current direction, the county moving toward full-time and volunteer fire services, New Windsor's firehouse is currently adding and
Currently.
expanding their
it's-
services
it's
and
more or
coverage.
less EMS. And then eventually there'll be probably maybe 20 years from now, there might be paid engine crew there.
And the fire company supports that, this
Yes.
In general.
in general?
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Yeah, because it's gone beyond what we can really handle. Our volunteer, it has really dropped off.
Oh, yeah, and not just yours.
Yeah,
And the expertise required and the training required and the cost
that's
of
what.
maintaining
is
the
big-
EMS systems.
you need like 120 hours of training just to ride the engine.
Okay, so
Before.
what I am hearing I should be able to say here is something about the fact that there are concerns about adequate levels of well-trained volunteers, but the county plans to mitigate this by moving to a hybrid staff volunteer system.
That would be,
Got it, you got the gist.
yeah, because I printed out from 2021 and average response times, I mean, they're like, they're slowly going up, Yeah, it's gonna be like I said, 2026, I think, before we see county staff in here. And I mean, that could change too, depends what the commissioners fund. As far as the facility, yeah, I mean, it's,
It's still adequate,
yeah.
yes. The facility itself.
And I don't know whether, our social hall is used a lot for larger town meetings. I don't know whether you would, but that wouldn't be in public safety. put in with the,
With your
Facility.
community
Facility.
center. The fire hall is currently, sometimes available as well.
and I'm sure 50 years down the road, there won't be any auxiliary or,
50? I don't think it'll be that far.
Yeah, it might not be that.
Yeah.
Does the deputy, does he use that? Does he have access to the
Yeah,
fire?
he's got access to it if he, wants to come in, shoot the breeze with the guys,
Whatever.
use the bathroom, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he's got a key.
He does? The deputy?
The deputy, yes.
Really?
I believe the deputy also has access.
I was gonna say, he can come in here, I know.
Yeah.
right.
I thought it was here, it was
Because
just.
we come out one night from the kitchen downstairs and he kind of scared us.
Yeah,
And he was just walking around, he said, I'm just, he's very,
checking it out,
checking things out. And
checking doorknobs.
So the issue is not about a new structure, but about staffing.
staffing,
Equipment doesn't seem to be a problem, right?
Just
No,
get
no,
some new
that's-
fancy schmancy thing in the last year or two, didn't you? New ambulance or,
Oh, the ambulance, we get those right now. I think from, the county has ordered 6 new ambulances. I think our next ambulance probably will be a county, will pay for that. Currently, right now, currently all the engines, we still raise the money to pay, they will not be a county expense. Volunteers will still raise money and fund that themselves.
What's the life of those kind of vehicles?
We have a 20-year, and our main engines, we switched to stainless steel bodies and chassis, just so they last so much longer.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
that ain't
So yeah,
hay,
we
what you're
have a
spending.
20-year replacement. We tried it.
What's the oldest?
Our brush truck is 2000,
That's it, you're at the
and that
20 year.
and that probably doesn't have that many miles on it. So.
Public water and sewer service? Sure, that's been carved up.
That's changed a lot.
So this is the section that we would want to talk about. We need to look for additional water sources closer to town. We're looking for redundant water sources. We're looking to upgrade our wastewater system. And then I guess in parens, I would put ENR because that's today what we're shooting the, but the next poor crew that has to go
I'm
through
gonna
this,
say,
it
who
probably
knows
won't
what
be
they'll come
ENR.
up with in 10 years.
I don't want to talk about the PFAS stuff, and, so we don't even want to.
We have no indication of that out here. I haven't heard anything about that here, have I? About PFAS in any of your wells?
Well, we have not. However, the levels that they are
Oh, yeah, well, they're gonna drop it down to,
so minute.
yeah. If a
that
fire truck
who
drove
knows?
through your town in the last 5 years,
Probably have some. Yeah, so I
eternal, what do they call them? Not forever chemicals. Forever chemicals.
One thing I'll mention about when it comes to the water and sewer aspect of things is this, study we're gonna start, I'm not sure when. Obviously, you're talking about trying to find other sources for water, that kind of thing. The one thing we're seeing, since we ever see them, is water's not gonna be the issue, it's gonna be the sewer. You can pretty much, in essence, either dig more wells sewer side, that, I think unfortunately, is really where development is gonna slip. Because you can only do so much in the sewer, you can only, the state's only gonna allow you to discharge so much. I'm more than likely, there's regulations that are more strict over the years. So that, and in order to put in new plants, I think most people realize, especially smaller communities, it's almost gonna be economically not possible. Because the new plants are gonna cost so much based on our expansion of a plant. So we're working on looking at with what all the systems have today, what does a build-out scenario look like when it comes to, okay, the state has, again, 80% of capacity and 100%. So 80% is where the state just feels, they're fine with. But 100% is pretty much yield. That plant is maxed out. And it's not, obviously, it's not the flows dealing with rainwater, that kind of stuff. It is what your plant can actually handle and what the state is suffice with doing. So we don't know the number yet, but sooner or later, yes, build-out is gonna probably occur a lot sooner because sewer is just gonna slow things down or stop it because you can only do so much.
See, and I don't think that has an impact to New Windsor because we have really no additional build-out, right? So our certificates are, that we have, but we still have to meet the current EPA regulations for discharge, and that's what we got us to the first time, right? When we went from our lagoon to this. We didn't have any additional build-out that caused it, we just had to meet the current regulations. And as a matter of fact, I recall that they said if we don't do this, it was a $10,000 a day fine that they were gonna hit our poor little community with to put in a $5 million, or, well, whatever it was,
4.5,
Yeah,
don't
okay.
exaggerate.
So, I think New Windsor is, that's why we're looking at the ENR now, because they're gonna tell us we have to meet that regulation regardless. It's not additional build-out that's gonna nail us, it's gonna be just meeting and keeping up with the regulations.
Since they're gonna be
And
tighter and tighter.
luckily, so far, there's been some grant money and things like that that are allowing us to do, necessary pre-work to look into this, to keep up with it. But that's gonna be on the town constantly to keep up with it. We can't turn a blind eye to it and then all of a sudden it hits us, because then we'll be doomed.
I think this is the spot to say that.
Well, yeah, that's why the upgraded wastewater systems, and the water, keeping redundant water sources available to the town. Michelle said it earlier, right? Maybe we don't want to have to get our water 5 miles out the road and worry about that long pipe. Maybe we need to find some redundant sources here closer in town that are more economical for the town to continue to operate and run. Although, I'm not sure we want to give up a water source that's been, so good to the
Now,
town.
if you got water, you don't give it up.
Right.
You've got, it says in here that we upgrade to a capacity of, more than double of the current gallons per day. Is that still, did you talk anything about the stats on that? Because I'm not quite sure where that's coming from. Because obviously you talk about the build-out. There's not any build-out that we're talking about.
Well, there's build-out since these numbers have been,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And Gary has all that latest
Yeah, but and
information.
we've got right in here, the 196,000, is our capacity now, and we're running at 91. And this is saying we need to build out and upgrade to a capacity of 440,000. And I don't quite understand that. And those were the estimates that the planners, I guess it would have been Barb, had worked on with potential growth. But we're nowhere near that. And again, I look at the numbers and we're roughly half. So none of the discussions that you had, none of the numbers indicate that we need to be looking redundancy, yes, other closer water sources, yes, but not necessarily that our capacity or our need is going to significantly increase.
Increase, no, we
Right,
haven't.
okay.
Does the county change anything in the priority funding areas surrounding town that would, going out towards Wakefield, or is that?
I don't think so.
There is on, water map, looking at things, it could be more than likely when that was done, just before we had what's considered a long range, service area, which is, the numbers aren't accounted for. Before, more than likely, all that was in the future. So if you look at the water map or the sewer map that are in the packets, which had the stripes, which is long range, more than likely, when this plan was done, those were probably considered future. So that is a very good possibility that 496, or whatever that number is.
Yeah,
that's where that came from. Because that long range, we were counting on that, correct?
Yep, okay, I'll buy that. It's priority planning and future planning categories is what it says, okay.
That's all we can do, so. And that's that being said, that is something to think about, is looking at the town growth area and what is shown in long range with water and or sewer to see, okay, do we want to still consider that aspect, like especially if let's say, you won't need water redundancy if adding, if all of a sudden the town decides that you want to annex all this stuff in, so we're going to growth area. Do we have the ability to do that within, the next 10, 20 years? The lifespan of these plans. And it doesn't, it adds information, but again, there's definitely other municipalities where, when it comes to water, sewer, we're looking at it, and our recommendation is you need to really look at your growth area. Their growth area is so big that they can't sustain, they don't have the infrastructure, the water, the sewer to potentially even do half of that. So just looking at,
Yeah, so water may not be an issue, but certainly the sewer capacity would just smack us, right? We would never be able to, we'd have to build
No way.
a whole nother plant. And
right, so that's little, something we're thinking about right now. Like you said, water-wise, you're right, but again, that's where we're going back to the build-out is, if, okay, we want this growth area, but yet, okay, we know that's gonna add X amount to our sewer, our capacity is X. And with ER upgrades, that does not increase your capacity, it just makes you have less nutrients going into the ground. So,
That's probably way before your time out here, Price, but probably 15 years ago. Manchester's build-out was expected to be in all of their plans 10 or 12,000 people. And they cut it, because I was around there then. They cut it to whatever it is, 50, I don't know exactly what it is now, but it was like, they cut it in half. Because they're looking at and it was because of the sewer, not because of the water. And that was a long time ago. That there was no way they were going to be able to pay to treat water when it needs to be treated as not water for that many people. And it was quite a hoo-ha, but they cut their anticipated growth in half. Now, we don't have that problem because our anticipated growth is like 3.5 people. But,
Half?
because we were smart. We were smarter than them.
So I think we still don't have a water task force anymore.
Not that I'm aware of. Other than, Gary and Wayne and,
Yeah. So all that information doesn't really.
Did you get all your verbiage out that you wanted?
Yes. And I think we can easily run this paragraph or two by Gary and Wayne to make
Yeah,
sure that
yeah.
they're in agreement with that, or to add anything they might have.
That next sentence, paragraph, is the same issue as the water. It's that there, it's got our current capacity, and then it's, almost tripled. Let's see, what's the growth? Did you want to make any comments about recycling?
Do I want to make any comments about recycling?
Yeah.
Since this plan was put in place, we now pay for recycling, right? So recycling used to help us keep our waste costs down because we were able to dump it in the landfill for free. Now we pay for it, and I forget
It's less, but you're still paying for it.
less than the tonnage cost for regular trash, but nonetheless, we still pay for it. As y'all know, there was a effort to do some trash, what do we call it, a program, pay-as-you-throw type thing that
The orange trash bags.
was not in favor by the citizens of New Windsor. So, trash is paid for through our tax dollars. And, we, every 3 years, and maybe 3 years plus a 2 contingency with the contractor, we regularly adjust our budget. And, the price keeps going up. We pay per stop for them to come around, and they run multiple trucks to do recycling and trash. And so I think the citizens of New Windsor will see the rates continue to increase as tipping charges increase at the landfills.
We have no control
and
over
as
that.
the cost of fuel and everything else, and the worker salaries go up, and I think eventually the town council will have to make a decision on, at some point, does it affect our tax rate to keep up with the trash in there?
How many other jurisdictions in the county experimented with this orange bag?
The big zero. The big zero. We were the only ones.
Yeah, no, I remember.
It was actually a money-saving program.
It was.
I had the orange bags.
There was
We
value
the
to it.
problem with
but-
that program was they announced it, and you couldn't get bags anywhere for a couple weeks, and then finally the 7-Eleven did have them, and then Safeway had them. But I think at that point, people were like, well, I can't get them, so I'm not gonna
It was
use
a
them.
pre-COVID supply chain issue.
There was certainly a value to it. It certainly made people, at the time, it would help to encourage recycling because you
But
didn't
we
have
weren't
to put
paying
it
for
into
it
the
then.
orange bag, right?
Right.
You could put it into your recycling bin, and at the time, that was free. Okay, so there's certainly a benefit to do that. However, people did not like
I'm sure you had a lot of
that.
complaints.
And we were paying for it through taxes, and that's why we gave everyone bags. We figured out how much your tax dollar went to trash for that period of time, and we gave everyone their money back through free trash bags. Here's your bags. But it didn't go over, and it was an experiment that we did for the county, and we tried it, and it did not work. And so today, we pay for recycling. So it's still cheaper. It still saves the town money when people recycle, because we don't have to pay as much as if you put it in your trash. But that's just the way it is.
What about the yard waste? Should that be discussed at all?
So the yard waste, the town, as a benefit to the citizens, the town collects yard waste and puts it in dumpsters. We do pay for the dumpsters. The town pays for the dumpsters. We have to pay to have them taken away, but the tipping is free for yard waste. So they can take that up to the county, and that gets mixed in and made mixed mulch or whatever they do with it up there. So, that's a service to the town. I think it's a good service that we offer, and the cost is, the big picture minimal, the rental of the dumpsters and the moving of the dumpsters. Was it something specific you were looking for?
Well, no, I was just wondering if it should be included under the solid waste or longer-term plans or anything for that.
As long as I have a voice in the town, I encourage that we continue down this road of doing yard
Keeps
waste.
the town tidy.
I imagine if people didn't have yard waste pickup, they would throw their grass into trash bags, and the trash man would pick them up, and
At a much
the town
higher
would
rate.
be paying
A
to
much
dispose
higher
of that.
rate.
So I think, again, there's another benefit to the town continuing that.
I mean, for like solid waste, would you want to say it's handled by a contractor? Or would you want to put any blurb about solid waste, or?
In this section, we're talking about our needs. I don't know. I mean, we have
Do the bulk trash, which encourages people to get rid of stuff instead of letting it lay around.
in their yards, yeah. I mean,
Need to do that more frequently?
the bulk trash? We do it twice a year, and the bulk trash has certainly come down, the amount of bulk trash that we pick up during those times. We used to fill a heck of a lot of dumpsters, and now if we do 3 to 4 dumpsters, that's about it. And typically, if you walk around town and all, we don't have too many mattresses laying out and couches and things like that. I think we've kind of, between our code enforcement officer helping us with that, we've kind of nipped that in the bud. So it's really just another benefit for the town residents to get rid of some of those larger items that can't go into yard waste. And the public works guys do a great job of sorting it when you do bring it, like metal and things like that, because they can recycle the metal or the ceramic white items and things like that, so.
Really not coming out with anything is a need in those areas. It's just stating that if the landfill's adequate, we have a yard waste program, that the bulk trash, just a couple times a year. Do we need that section in there at all?
I mean, if someone was looking to where solid waste goes, that's, I think, why that was there. I don't know.
Well, I think I can say that it's currently meeting needs, but may be necessary to re-examine the cost in the future.
Always read.
Always, yes, that's always a safe thing to say, right? Because it is.
Don't get your hopes up, folks.
And yeah, I guess you can base that statement on the fact that tipping fees and everything
Yeah,
else
they're going up.
continue to raise, so that's always a fair option. After 8, Mark.
That's right, that's what I was getting ready to say. That's our breaking point. I'm gonna go out of town because you covered 30 pages, I got 3. Sorry, but we'll blame it on.
Same price.
All right, announcements. Bingo, how often is bingo?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday. We'll take a break when local carnivals come up. And New Windsor's Carnival is early this year. It's
23rd.
23rd to the 27th of May.
and there is going to be a parade.
That's still on the fence.
Heard there was.
Permits, something with permits from the state. So I don't know, I think we would like to have one, but,
Or is it going to be a shortened route, but I heard.
well, yeah, it possibly might just like run down Church Street, kind of avoid the state route.
Big
Other
hill to
events,
climb, big hill.
Come this way.
Lions,
Pardon?
says other events.
Oh, where the Lions are doing the Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah, that's
I don't know
right.
whether, I haven't seen anything yet, but.
Well, you better hurry, because we only got, this is,
You got a month?
no, we don't. Good Friday is
Weekend
coming
after
up
that.
next week. Yeah, so we're
Okay.
talking about 10 days.
April Fool's is next weekend.
Uh-huh. April Fool's might be for me every day.
And of course, music on the main.
October
First
7th.
Abby came
Saturday
last
of
year, so
October.
you have to come this year.
October
Music
7th.
on the main. And it poured down rain, and she still came. It
That was
pretty
actually
nice.
very fun
That
in the
was nice. I
firehouse.
liked it in
That
the
was very
firehouse.
nice.
Yeah.
Noisy.
It was noisy,
Yeah.
but they pulled it off with
Yes, they
aplomb.
did.
Yes.
Yes. The mayor was pretty agile in making that happen that way. Okay, any other announcements, thoughts, comments? Thanks, everybody, for your patience. And next meeting is April 24th at 6 o'clock, under the lights. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Anybody heard anything from Glenn?
I have not.
Well, he was supposed to be here. Yes, as a matter of fact, he is doing quite well.
Good, good. So
I
things.
thought he was, both him and his wife are doing quite well.
Both